The darkness of space was endless. The human ship Aurora drifted quietly between the stars, its silver hull shining like a small moon. Inside, the crew of 20 humans worked in calm silence until the alarms began to scream. Red lights flashed. Metal walls shook. Someone shouted, "Incoming ships!" They came out of nowhere. Ethan Cole, the ship's young engineer, ran to his console. On the screen, strange black ships appeared, shaped like blades with glowing red engines that looked almost alive. They moved fast, too fast. "They're not human," whispered the captain. "Evasive maneuvers!" But it was too late. The alien ships fired beams of red energy that tore through Aurora's shields like paper. The control room exploded in sparks. Smoke filled the air. People screamed. Ethan grabbed his helmet, trying to reach the escape pods, but the hallway was filled with fire. He could feel the heat on his skin as he ran. Explosions shook the floor. A wall cracked open and the cold vacuum of space pulled at him. He jumped, caught the edge of the escape pod hatch, and slammed it shut behind him. The pod launched just as the Aurora broke apart. Ethan's eyes widened as he watched the only home he had in space burn into bright dust. He was alone now, floating among stars. Then, something caught his pod. A red light surrounded him, freezing the pod in midair. His computer blinked. Unknown gravity field detected. The small pod began to move, pulled toward a massive alien ship, dark and shining like obsidian glass. Ethan tried to activate the thrusters, but the controls were dead. The ship swallowed him whole. When he woke up, everything was quiet. He was lying on a cold metal floor. His wrists were bound by glowing cuffs that burned his skin. Around him stood tall figures in dark armor. Their eyes glowed crimson. Their skin was pale like moonlight. One of them hissed, "He's awake." Another replied, "The princess will want to see this one." They pulled him to his feet and dragged him down a long hallway lit with red crystals. Strange symbols covered the walls and the air smelled of iron and smoke. He could hear deep voices whispering behind metal doors, voices that sounded almost human but not quite. Finally, they entered a large hall filled with shadow and fire. At the far end sat a throne carved from black stone, and on it sat her, the alien princess. Her name, he would later learn, was Lysara. Her hair floated around her like liquid night. Her eyes glowed a deep scarlet and her skin shimmered faintly as if touched by starlight. She was beautiful and terrifying. The guards forced Ethan to kneel. Lysara stood slowly, her gown flowing like smoke. She walked toward him, her steps silent on the metal floor. "So," she said softly, her voice cold but curious. "A human." Ethan looked up, fear burning in his chest. "Who are you? Why did you attack us?" She tilted her head. "Attack? We were hunting energy. Your ship entered our territory." "Energy?" he asked. "You destroyed us for energy?" She smiled faintly. Her teeth were sharp, too sharp. "We feed on life energy. You call it—" "The soul." Ethan's heart froze. The guards chuckled quietly. Lysara reached out, her long fingers brushing his cheek. Her touch was icy but gentle. "You are not afraid," she said softly. Interesting. He wanted to speak, but his throat was dry. He could feel her presence inside his mind, like a cold wind searching his thoughts. "Your energy burns brighter than the others," she whispered. "You are different." She turned toward her council members who stood in the shadows. "Bring him closer." The guards pushed Ethan forward. Lysara studied him in silence for a long moment. The hall was so quiet he could hear his own heartbeat. Then suddenly she pointed at him. Her voice echoed through the chamber. "I want him," she said. "This human. I want him as my husband." Gasps filled the hall. The guards looked at one another in shock. A few dropped to one knee, whispering in fear. The council leader stepped forward quickly. "Princess, that is forbidden. A human cannot be bound to Dravarian blood." But Lysara ignored him. Her eyes stayed locked on Ethan's. "He is mine," she said softly, almost like a threat. Ethan's mind spun. He thought he had misheard her. "What?" he whispered. Lysara stepped closer, her crimson eyes glowing brighter. "Do not fear, human. You will understand soon." He pulled against his cuffs, but they didn't move. "I don't even know your name," he said, his voice shaking. "You will," she said. "And when you do, you will never forget it." Her gaze grew darker and the lights in the hall flickered. A strange energy filled the air, heavy and electric. Ethan felt his knees weaken. The princess smiled faintly and whispered one last time before turning away. "You belong to me now." The guards pulled him away, but he couldn't look away from her eyes. In that moment, Ethan Cole realized something far worse than death had happened. He was not just a prisoner. He was chosen, and whatever that meant, he knew it was only the beginning. Ethan sat in a dim, circular room made of dark stone. Strange blue symbols glowed on the walls, shifting like liquid light. He didn't know how long he had been there, minutes, hours, maybe days. The silence pressed on him like weight. He remembered the princess's voice. "I want him as my husband." The words kept echoing in his head. It didn't make sense. She was an alien, a vampire from the stars. Why would she want him? The door opened with a low hiss. 2 guards entered, their armor black as night. One spoke in a cold voice. "The princess summons you." "Do not resist." Ethan didn't answer. Resistance meant death here. He followed them down the glowing hallway, heart pounding. The throne room looked different this time. Candles floated in the air, burning with blue fire. The walls pulsed with faint red light as if alive. Princess Lysera sat on her throne dressed in dark silver robes. Her eyes met Ethan's immediately. She didn't blink. She didn't smile. She simply stared, as if she could read every thought inside him. When she finally spoke, her voice was calm and low. "You are the last human alive aboard your ship, correct?" Ethan hesitated. "Yes." She stood up slowly, walking down the steps with grace that seemed unreal. "You're kind. So fragile yet so full of light," she said, almost to herself. "When I touched your mind, I saw something I've never seen before." He frowned. "You touched my mind?" "Yes," she said simply. "Humans burn bright. Your life energy is different. It sings." "I'm not a song," he said quietly. "I'm just a man who wants to go home." She stopped right in front of him. "Home?" she repeated. "Your home was destroyed the moment you entered our space. You belong here now." He stepped back, trying to hide his fear. "You can't just decide that." Lysera's lips curved into a faint smile. "I can. I am princess of the Dravarian Empire. My word becomes law," he swallowed. "Then why me? You said you wanted me as your husband. Is that some kind of joke?" She tilted her head. "Dravarians do not joke. I chose you." The council members standing at the edges of the room began whispering to each other. One of them, a tall old figure with golden armor, stepped forward. "Your Highness," he said, "this is not wise. Our laws forbid binding with another species. The human is not one of us." Lysera's red eyes flashed. "He will be," the old one bowed slightly. "If you do this, the elders will question your rule." "Let them," she said coldly. "My choice is final." She turned back to Ethan. "You will not be harmed, human. You will stay in the royal chambers until the bonding ceremony." Ethan stared at her. "Bonding ceremony? What does that even mean?" She smiled softly, her voice almost kind. "You will learn. Our bond will join our life forces. You will become part of my essence. You will live longer. See more than any human ever has." He shook his head. "No, I didn't ask for this." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Refusal is not an option." He tried to step away, but the guards blocked his path. "I'm not one of your people," he said. "You can't just own me." For the first time, Lysera's expression changed. Her voice turned sharp as ice. "Own you? I do not own what I wish to protect." Her tone softened again. "You are different, Ethan Cole. When I looked into your mind, I saw a world of light. A sun, oceans, laughter. I want to understand it." He looked at her in disbelief. "You want to understand humanity?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, and through you I can." He took a deep breath. "And if I refuse?" Her eyes glowed brighter, filling the room with red light. "Then I will take your energy, and your story will end here." The silence that followed was heavy. Ethan could feel her power, cold and ancient, pressing against his skin. He knew she wasn't lying. Finally, she raised her hand. The guard stepped back. "Take him to the Chamber of Moonlight," she ordered. "Prepare him for the ceremony." As they led him away, Ethan turned his head to look at her one last time. "Why me?" he asked softly. Lysera's answer was quiet but haunting. "Because when I looked into your heart, I saw something I have never felt in thousands of years." He frowned. "What's that?" "Hope," she whispered. The doors closed between them with a deep, echoing sound. Ethan was led through more glowing halls, his mind racing. He didn't know what scared him more, the princess's power, or the strange feeling that part of him didn't want to escape anymore. He sat alone in the chamber, the stars outside burning red through the windows. Somewhere deep inside the alien ship, the drums of the coming ceremony began to beat, slow, deep, and endless. Ethan closed his eyes and whispered to himself, "This can't be real." But it was. And the next sunrise he saw would not be on Earth. The chamber of moonlight was quiet and cold. Silver walls curved around Ethan like the inside of a shell, glowing with a soft blue light that came from nowhere. A large window showed the stars outside, burning silently. He sat on a stone seat staring at the endless darkness. He still couldn't believe any of it was real. He was supposed to be dead, lost with the Aurora. But instead he was here, trapped in a place that didn't belong to any human, and now an alien princess wanted him as her husband. Ethan rubbed the glowing cuffs on his wrists. They no longer burned, but they never came off. Every time he tried to break them, they pulsed with faint energy, like a heartbeat that wasn't his. He didn't notice the door open behind him. "You are awake again," said a calm voice. Ethan turned. It was her, Princess Lysura. She walked into the room, her long, dark hair floating as if moved by an invisible wind. Tonight she wore no crown, no armor, only a soft robe that shimmered like starlight. "I didn't think you would come alone," Ethan said quietly. "I am not afraid of you," she replied with a faint smile. "Should I be?" He gave a small, tired laugh. "You destroyed my ship, captured me, and now you want to marry me. Fear doesn't even fit anymore." Lysara tilted her head slightly, studying him. Humor, even in fear. Humans are strange. She sat across from him, her eyes glowing faintly red in the dim light. "I wanted to speak without guards or rules," she said softly. "I want you to understand why I chose you." Ethan frowned. "I don't think I'll ever understand that." "Maybe not," she said. "But listen." She touched the metal floor and suddenly a thin mist rose around them, showing glowing images, strange stars, burning worlds, and endless night. "Our people are born from darkness," she said quietly. "We live in shadow, drink energy to survive, and feel no warmth. For thousands of years we have forgotten what it means to be alive." The images changed. Dravarians standing like statues, cold and still. "We do not feel joy or pain," Lysara continued. "Only hunger. But when I touched your mind, I saw colors I did not know existed. I saw light." Ethan stared at her. "You saw my memories." "Yes," she said softly. "The sun, the ocean, the feeling of warmth on your skin. I want to feel that. To understand it." "You can't," he said quietly. "You're not human." Lysara's eyes darkened, but not in anger, almost sadness. "Perhaps, but maybe, I can change." He looked at her closely for the first time, not as a monster, but as someone lost. She seemed powerful, yes, but also lonely. Her voice had cracks when she spoke, like she was fighting something deep inside. Ethan sighed. "If what you want is to learn about humans, you don't need to marry me." Her gaze sharpened. "You don't understand, Ethan. Our bond is more than marriage. It is the sharing of essence. Once it begins, part of your energy will flow into me and part of mine into you. We will become linked, thoughts, feelings, life." He shook his head. "That sounds like losing myself. Or finding a new self," she said softly. "Do you not wish to be more than human?" "I just want to live," he said. "To go home." For a long moment she said nothing. Then she stood and walked toward the window. The stars reflected in her red eyes. "Your world will never take you back," she whispered. "They will fear you now." "You carry our mark." "What mark?" he asked. She turned and her hand brushed his chest. He felt a pulse, warm, alive beneath his skin. A small red symbol glowed there for a second, then faded. "When I saved you from the vacuum of space, I gave you my essence," she said. "You live because of me." Ethan took a step back, shocked. You what?" "You were dying," she said calmly. "I shared my life force to keep you alive. It changed you. That is why I chose you. We are already connected." He didn't know what to say. His hands trembled. "You should have let me die." Her expression darkened. "Do not say that," she whispered, her voice trembling for the first time. "Do not waste the life I gave you." Silence filled the room again. The stars outside seemed to move slower. Finally, she spoke again, softly, almost like a plea. "You will see, Ethan. This bond is not a curse. It is destiny." He looked at her, feeling anger, fear, and something else, pity, maybe even curiosity. What if destiny doesn't agree? He said quietly. Lysera's eyes flickered with sadness, then power. Then destiny will learn to obey me. The floor lights dimmed. The window darkened until only her glowing eyes remained. As she left the room, her voice echoed through the mist. The bond begins tomorrow night. Ethan stood alone, his heart pounding. He looked down at his chest where the faint red mark had vanished. It still burned beneath his skin. For the first time, he realized the truth. He was no longer completely human. And whatever was happening, there was no turning back. The night on the Dravarian mothership was darker than space itself. No sound moved through the royal corridors except the soft hum of energy veins glowing along the walls. Ethan could not sleep. He sat on the edge of his bed in the chamber of moonlight, staring at his hands. The faint red mark on his chest still pulsed under his skin, slow, steady, alive. He could feel something new inside him. It was not human. Every breath he took seemed to echo faintly in the air, as if the ship itself was listening. The bond begins tomorrow night. Lysera's words haunted him. He didn't know if he was afraid of her or afraid of what he was becoming. Then suddenly the lights flickered. The glowing walls dimmed to black. The ship groaned like something alive. Ethan stood up fast. "Hello?" he called, but his voice was swallowed by silence. A whisper came from behind him. "They are coming." He spun around. A woman stood by the door, tall, dressed in a flowing black robe. Her eyes were silver instead of red. Her face looked familiar, almost like Lysera's, but colder. "Who are you?" Ethan asked. She smiled faintly. "I am Celine, Lysera's sister." Ethan's heart thumped hard. "You her sister?" Celine nodded slowly. "You are the human she wishes to bond with, the one she broke the law for." "I didn't ask for any of this," Ethan said quietly. "I know," she replied. "That is why you must listen. My sister is dangerous. She thinks her bond with you will change our kind, but she is wrong. It will destroy both of you." Ethan frowned. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because," Celine said, stepping closer, her voice sharp as ice, "tonight the council has sent assassins. They are coming to kill you, to stop the ceremony before it begins." Ethan's stomach tightened. "Kill me now?" "Yes, and if they find you, they will also kill Lysera for breaking the ancient rule." Ethan looked toward the door. "Then we have to warn her." Celine's silver eyes narrowed. "She doesn't need warning. She needs to be stopped." Before he could reply, the lights went out completely. Total darkness. Only the faint glow of Celine's eyes remained. Then came the sound, a soft hissing whisper like blades cutting air. Ethan froze. Shadows moved along the walls, figures in black armor crawling like insects. "Stay behind me," Celine whispered, raising her hand. A beam of white energy burst from her palm, lighting the room in cold light. 4 assassins appeared, their armor glinting, their eyes empty. They attacked without sound. Celine moved fast, too fast for human eyes. Her hands glowed with sharp light as she blocked the first blow. Sparks filled the air. Ethan stumbled backward, grabbing a broken metal rod from the floor. One assassin lunged at him. He swung the rod, hitting the creature's helmet. It cracked open, and for a moment Ethan saw the face inside, pale, hollow, with black veins. Then the assassin screamed and vanished into dust. Celine turned, her energy slicing through the others. But one assassin slipped behind her, blade raised high. "Celine!" Ethan shouted. She spun too late. The blade cut her shoulder. She fell to her knees, hissing in pain. The assassin aimed for her heart. Ethan didn't think. He jumped forward, swinging the rod again. The weapon hit the alien's chest, but this time it glowed red. The energy from his mark flared like fire. The assassin burned from the inside and vanished. Silence. Only the hum of dying energy remained. Ethan dropped the rod, gasping for breath. His chest burned with light. What just happened?" Celine looked up at him, holding her bleeding shoulder. "The bond has already begun," she whispered. "Even before the ceremony." Ethan stared at his hands, still glowing faintly red. No, I don't want this." But before either of them could speak again, the door opened and Lysera entered. Her eyes burned brighter than ever. "Ethan!" she shouted, running forward. When she saw her sister on the floor, her voice turned cold. "What have you done?" Celine laughed weakly. "I saved him." "From your assassins." Lysera's gaze shifted from Celine to Ethan. Is that true? Ethan nodded slowly. They came to kill me. She helped? Lizara's anger softened, but only slightly. The council will pay for this, she said. Celine stood, blood dripping from her shoulder. They are not the only ones who will pay. Your bond with this human will bring ruin to us all. Lizara's eyes flared. Enough. Leave before I forget you're my sister. Celine turned to Ethan. You think she saved you, human? Wait until the bond takes your soul. Then you will know what real death feels like. She vanished into a swirl of black mist. Ethan sank to the floor, breathing hard. Lizara knelt beside him, placing her cold hand on his chest. You are hurt, she whispered. I'm fine, he said, his voice shaking. But what did she mean? The bond has already begun. Lizara's expression changed. Her eyes softened with something close to fear. It means you and I are already connected more deeply than I thought. Your energy answered my call before I even spoke it. Ethan stared at her. And what happens now? She looked toward the stars outside, her face unreadable. Now, Ethan Cole, she whispered. We change the fate of both our worlds. The hum of the ship grew louder as if listening. And somewhere in the darkness, Celine watched, waiting for her next move. The ship floated in silence above a dying red star. From the outside, it looked calm, like a dark castle resting in the void. But inside, chaos whispered in every corridor. The failed assassination had shaken the Empire. Rumors spread like fire through the Draverian halls. Some said the human had cursed their princess. Others claimed the old prophecy was waking again, the one that spoke of light born from flesh and darkness reborn in love. Ethan didn't care about prophecies. He only cared about the strange fire burning inside him. He sat alone in his chamber, breathing slowly. Every time he closed his eyes, he could feel Lizara's heartbeat, soft, distant, yet inside him. He didn't know how, but they were linked. When he touched his chest, his fingers felt heat pulsing beneath the skin. The red mark glowed faintly, and his veins shimmered like liquid light. I'm changing, he whispered. The door opened gently. Lizara entered, her steps silent. She wore no crown tonight, just a dark cloak that shimmered with red energy. She looked tired. You should rest, she said softly. He looked up at her. I can't sleep. My body feels wrong. Lizara walked closer, her eyes studying him carefully. It is not wrong, she said. It is awakening. Awakening. She nodded slowly. Our energies are learning to speak to each other. The bond is growing stronger. Ethan stood up, frustrated. You keep calling it a bond, but you never asked me if I wanted it. Her face softened. If I hadn't bonded you, you would be dead, Ethan. I'd rather be dead than this. She stepped closer, her voice barely a whisper. Then why does your heart beat in rhythm with mine? Ethan froze. She raised her hand, and the room filled with faint red mist. In that mist, he could hear two heartbeats, his and hers, beating in perfect sync. He stared at her, speechless. You see? Lizara said softly. We are one life now. What you feel, I feel. What I see, you can see, if you allow it. He took a slow breath. Show me. She touched his forehead with 2 fingers. The world vanished. Suddenly, he stood in a field of black glass beneath a red sky. Massive towers of crystal rose around him, glowing faintly. In the distance, he saw shadows. Thousands of Draverians, cold and unmoving, standing like statues. This is my world, Lizara said behind him. Her voice was echoing through the air and his mind at the same time. A place of silence. No sun, no life, only hunger. He turned to her. It's beautiful, but sad, she smiled faintly. Yes, that is why I need you. You bring something my world has forgotten, warmth. He reached out, and to his surprise, she didn't move away. Her hand met his. For a moment, the red sky brightened just a little. The black glass under their feet shimmered, turning silver. Then a loud crack echoed through the sky. The image trembled. Lizara gasped. No, someone is breaking the connection. Before Ethan could ask who, the vision shattered. He was back in the real room, on his knees, gasping for air. The mark on his chest burned like fire. Lizara fell beside him, clutching her head. Celine, she hissed. She is attacking the bond from the psychic plane. Ethan forced himself to stand. Then stop her. Lizara's eyes glowed crimson. I can't alone. She has the council's power. They fear what we've become. The lights in the chamber began to flicker wildly. The floor vibrated. Ethan grabbed the wall. What's happening? The ship's energy core is collapsing, she said. She's trying to kill both of us before the bond completes. Ethan's heart pounded. He felt energy rushing through his veins again, stronger this time, hotter. The pain was sharp, but something deep inside whispered, use it. He looked at Lysera. If we're connected, then use me, her eyes widened. No, Ethan. Your body can't handle the energy of a Dravarian. Then guide me, he shouted. Show me how. Lysera hesitated, but then she placed her hand over his chest. Close your eyes, she whispered. Breathe with me, he obeyed. Their heartbeats aligned again. The red mark on his chest burst with light. Energy streamed out from him, wrapping around Lysera like fire. Together they glowed brighter than the room itself. Then came the explosion. A wave of red light tore through the ship. For a moment everything went still. The walls melted and time itself seemed to stop. When the light faded, Ethan and Lysera were lying on the floor, alive, breathing. But something had changed. Lysera looked at him, eyes wide with shock. Your energy, it saved the core. Ethan groaned, trying to sit up. Did it work? Yes, she said softly. But look at yourself, he did. His hands were no longer just human. They glowed faintly, veins filled with light. His reflection in the metal wall showed eyes with a faint red ring around them. He wasn't fully human anymore. Lysera reached out, touching his face gently. You are no longer only of Earth, she said. You are something new. He looked at her, unsure if he should feel afraid or proud. What does that make me? She smiled softly, the first real smile he had seen from her. It makes you the bridge between our worlds. But as she spoke, a shadow moved across the door. Far away, deep within the ship, Celine watched through the energy screens, her silver eyes cold. So it begins, she whispered. The light has awakened. The stars were no longer peaceful. They burned red, reflecting the chaos spreading through the Dravarian Empire. Whispers of rebellion echoed through every ship and city. The council had branded Princess Lysera a traitor. Her crime, bonding with a human. Her punishment, death. But the council made one mistake. They underestimated the power of that bond. Ethan stood by the window of the small cruiser Lysera had stolen from the royal docks. Below them, the blue curve of Earth glowed, beautiful, fragile. His home. He pressed his hand against the glass. I never thought I'd see it again, he whispered. Lysera stood beside him, her red eyes softer than before. Your world? It's full of light. No wonder your soul burns so brightly. Ethan turned to her. If the council finds us, they'll destroy it. We can't let them. They will come, she said. My sister will lead them herself. She wants to end this bond before it spreads. He frowned. Before it spreads? Lysera nodded. The energy inside us, it's growing stronger. It is no longer only ours. It's reaching through the stars, touching every Dravarian heart. Some have begun to feel emotion for the first time in centuries. Others call it poison. Ethan looked at her amazed. You mean, this connection between us could change your entire species? Yes, she said. That is why they fear us. Before Ethan could reply, alarms blared. Red light filled the cabin. The screen flashed with multiple signals, ships warping into orbit. Lysera's eyes darkened. She's here. Moments later, the sky above Earth filled with black ships shaped like blades. The Dravarian fleet. The human military reacted fast. Earth's defense satellites turned toward the invaders, missiles ready. But their weapons were nothing compared to the Dravarian cannons. The first blast lit up the atmosphere like a second sunrise. Ethan stumbled as the ship shook. They're attacking Earth! No, Lysera said, her tone sharp. They are attacking me. She ran to the controls. The ship's wings unfolded, shimmering with crimson energy. Hold on. The cruiser burst forward, flying straight toward the largest enemy vessel, the Vralor, Celine's flagship. Inside its dark halls, Celine stood on the command bridge. Her silver eyes locked on the screen showing her sister's approach. She brings him here, Celine said coldly. To the planet of her toy. End them both. The two fleets collided in a storm of fire and light. Earth's blue sky turned red as ships exploded. Ethan held onto the controls beside Lysera. We can't fight them all. I'm not fighting them, Lysera said, her eyes glowing fiercely. I'm fighting her. The smaller ship dove through the chaos, dodging lasers and debris. The stars flashed past them as they neared Celine's flagship. Then Celine's voice filled the air, cold and calm. Sister, surrender. The human has infected you. You are no longer one of us. Lysera pressed a button, opening a comm link. You are wrong, Celine. I am more than I ever was. Celine's laughter echoed through the speakers. Then come prove it. The communication cut off. Lysera looked at Ethan. This ends now. Ethan nodded. Together, they landed inside the flagship's docking bay, surrounded by armored guards. The moment the ramp opened, the guards charged. Ethan raised his hand and light burst from his palm. The energy wave threw the soldiers back like leaves in the wind. His eyes glowed red and gold. Lysera looked at him with awe. Your power. It's merging with mine. He gave a small smile. Guess I'm not just human anymore. They moved through the hallways, fighting side by side. For every enemy that struck, their bond grew stronger. Their movements were perfectly synced, their minds connected. Finally, the great door opened, revealing Celine waiting on the throne of her captured ship. She rose slowly. So this is the creature you risked everything for? Her voice was soft but filled with poison. Tell me, sister, is he worth the end of our kind? Yes, Lysera said firmly, because through him, our kind will finally live. Celine raised her hand and the walls burst with energy. Then you both die. The air crackled as Celine attacked. Silver lightning shot across the room. Lysera blocked it, but the force sent her to her knees. Ethan ran forward, his hands blazing with light. The energy hit Celine's shield, shattering it like glass. She stumbled back, shocked. What are you? She hissed. Ethan's voice was calm. Something new. He reached out, and for a moment, the entire ship froze. The air trembled. Lights flickered. The psychic energy between him and Lysera spread through the walls, touching every Dravarian on board. Celine screamed, clutching her head. Stop, you're infecting them. Lysera stood tall, her red eyes burning brighter. Not infecting. Awakening. The light burst outward, filling the ship, then spreading through the fleet outside. One by one, the red eyes of the soldiers turned soft and human-like, their hunger fading. Celine fell to her knees, gasping. You've doomed us. No, Lysera whispered. We have freed you. The flagship began to fall, engines failing. Ethan grabbed Lysera's hand as explosions shook the deck. We need to get out, now! The two ran back toward the escape bay, leaping into their ship as the Vrelor erupted behind them. From orbit, the humans watched in silence as the alien fleet stopped firing. Instead, the ships turned away, drifting peacefully into the void. Lysera sat beside Ethan, breathing hard. The war is over. He looked out the window at the calm blue earth. No, he said softly. It's just beginning. She turned to him, confused. Ethan smiled faintly. Now we have to teach two worlds how to live together. Outside, dawn was rising over Earth. The light touched Lysera's face for the first time. She closed her eyes, whispering, So this is sunlight. And for the first time in Dravarian history, a vampire princess smiled at the dawn. The war had ended, but peace was not gentle. For weeks, the sky above Earth shimmered with broken light, remnants of battleships drifting silently in orbit. The humans called it the Red Rain, fragments of alien metal burning as they entered the atmosphere. To them, it was a warning. But to Ethan Cole, it was the price of freedom. He stood on a cliff overlooking the ocean, the wind brushing against his face. It had been years, no, lifetimes, since he'd felt Earth's air, its scent of salt and sky. Yet he didn't feel entirely human anymore. His reflection in the water showed eyes that glowed faintly gold with red edges. He was something in between. Behind him, soft footsteps approached. You still miss it, said a quiet voice. He turned to see Lysera walking toward him. She wore simple human clothes, white, loose, flowing in the wind. No crown, no armor. Her eyes, once bright crimson, were now gentler, touched with faint blue light from her bond with him. Ethan smiled faintly. Yeah, I guess I do. She stood beside him, looking out at the ocean. Your world is loud, alive, full of emotion. My people fear it. He glanced at her. And you? She hesitated. I envy it. The sun was setting, and its orange glow painted her pale skin with warmth. For the first time, she didn't seem like a creature of darkness. She looked alive. But peace never lasts. That night, while humans celebrated survival, the stars whispered of a new danger. Far beyond the solar system, the remnants of the old Dravarian Council gathered in shadow. They were not like Lysara's new followers. These were the pure-blooded ancients untouched by emotion, bound by old hunger. To them, Lysara's transformation was betrayal. Their leader, an elder named Vorthon, raised his hand. She has turned our kind into weak creatures of mercy. We must burn her light away. The fleet that formed in the void was small but deadly, ships blacker than space, powered by stolen human reactors. Their goal was clear: kill the hybrid, destroy the bond. Ethan felt it before the attack came. He woke in the middle of the night, chest burning, the mark glowing bright again. Lysara sat up beside him, eyes wide. You feel it too, she said. They're coming, he whispered. Moments later, the night sky erupted. Red fire streaked through the clouds as enemy ships entered the atmosphere. Sirens screamed across the human cities. Lysara stood by the window, her eyes full of sorrow. They are my people, and they come to kill us both. Ethan grabbed his jacket. Then we fight. She turned to him slowly. If we fight, we destroy everything this peace stands for. He shook his head. If we run, we lose everything we built. She stepped closer, placing her cold hand on his heart. If we fight together, we might not survive. He smiled faintly. Then we fight anyway. The next hour was chaos. The skies above the ocean turned red again. Human jets flew alongside Lysara's crimson energy crafts. The battle of two worlds had returned, but this time, it was different. Ethan and Lysara fought together, their bond glowing brighter than ever. Every blast of light he fired was matched by her power. The air around them pulsed like thunder, their joined energy forming waves of red and gold across the battlefield. The ancient fleet was powerful, but unprepared for something new. When the largest enemy ship descended, Lysara looked at Ethan. This is it. The core ship carries the Elder. Ethan nodded. Then let's finish it. They flew straight into the storm. Inside the enemy vessel, darkness ruled. Vorthon awaited them, a towering figure with hollow eyes and skin like ice. So, he said, voice deep as thunder, the Princess of Night brings her pet. Lysara raised her chin. Not pet, partner. Vorthon laughed. You have doomed us all. Light and dark cannot exist as one. Ethan stepped forward. That's where you're wrong. He reached for Lysara's hand. The moment they touched, the chamber burst with blinding light. Gold and crimson energy spiraled around them, forming a storm that tore through the ship. Vorthon screamed as his body turned to dust. The darkness tried to swallow them, but the light only grew brighter. Lysara's voice echoed in Ethan's mind. It's too much power. We'll both burn. Ethan's thoughts were calm. Then we burned together. They closed their eyes and let go. The explosion painted the sky in colors no human or alien had ever seen before. For miles, the ocean reflected it like a second sunrise. Then it faded, leaving only silence. Days later, the humans searched the wreckage. They found no bodies, only strange glowing particles drifting in the air, warm to the touch. Scientists couldn't explain them. The people called it starfall. But one morning, as dawn rose over the same cliff where it all began, a figure appeared, Ethan. He stood in the sunlight, breathing slowly. His body was whole, but changed. His chest no longer bore the red mark. It had turned gold. Behind him, the wind shifted and a voice whispered softly, I told you. I wanted to see the sunrise. He turned toward the light, smiling. And you did. For a moment, the morning rays shimmered, and beside him, Lysera's figure appeared, made of light, smiling too. Two souls, one human, one once Dravarian, stood together beneath the first full sunrise both had ever truly seen. And the universe, for the first time in history, held its breath. Because light and dark had finally become one.